Welcome back, fellow shop rats. Today here in the shop we're going to do the prep work to hang in the quarter panel on the 70 Challenger. Remember that the work that we do here doesn't just apply to a 70 Challenger, but it applies to any project that you're working on. I'm Mike and this is my car shop.
Working out of a 100-year-old refurbished barn, bringing 35 years of experience to projects considered beyond repair. Vision, creativity, and problem solving are essential tools in this place. Watch as we transform junk into polished metal miracles. This is my car's shop.
I really feel like I'm starting to find my groove and my stride when it comes to what to put into an episode. I spent a few days just pondering since I finished up the back end of this car and the things that we did back in this area, and I just took a break from the project. I actually haven't been in the shop at all in a few days, which is unusual, but took some time to just think about what I wanted to offer in this episode. And I realized that we could do a lot of time lapse and just slam through putting a quarter panel on, but it's been quite a while since we've hung a quarter panel. We did an episode on the 74, we did several episodes on the 74 Swinger, where my son Joe and I put that quarter panel on. But anyway, I decided that it would be worth breaking this down into a couple of episodes. And so what I want to do today is take you through what I do to prep the vehicle for hanging the quarter panel. And this is kind of important because getting these body lines and everything lined up, making sure it fits into that wheel tub, especially since we made all of this opening by hand in here, getting everything to fit just right. I'll also take you through, again, which I've shared before, but I'll take you through my philosophy on why I hang a quarter panel the way I do. Remember that I don't use high dollar parts here. Everything we try to do is on a budget, which is one of the reasons why I do so much fabrication. If you have the time and very little brains like I do and want to develop the skill, you can go ahead and save yourself thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I've been looking at the price of Challengers in the condition this was when I bought it. And what I have into this car right now is, as far as we've brought it, is less than what a lot of these cars in this condition are selling for in the condition this was when I bought it. So, I got a really good deal because I got it at a junkyard price. A buddy did me a really amazing favor, thanks Dave, and sold it to me for what he got it for because he saved it out of the junkyard pile. And those deals are out there if you're ready to jump on them when they come around. Now, a little precursor to something, I've got another car on the hook. It's another Mopar that's probably as bad or worse than this one. Something I was thinking about was, I've got this car so far along now. Yes, we have a lot of rust repair to do, but I've got this so far along now, I need to start thinking about what's the next fabrication project I'm going to be working on. Now, I know a couple of you know what it is, but don't tell anybody yet. I'm not ready to reveal. I haven't even seen the car in person yet, but I'm probably going to go ahead because what does it matter? And I want to do a different kind of fabrication project on that. So that's a teaser of things to come. But that's a big bunny trail, and we need to get back here. So we want to get all of this prepped, get everything laid out, get the replacement Sherman quarter panel ready to put on the car. There are so many times I wish you were here in the shop with me for me to just actually show you what I'm doing. It's hard to capture in video all of the nuances, but I went around and I put in the clamps to hold things in place. We're fitting really nicely down here at the bottom. We're sticking out up front because we have some trimming to do right there. I'll show you about that in a few minutes. We're clamped back here with vice grips. Everything is lining up really nice. One major concern that I have is this lip right here being in the right location, because you have all kinds of variants. But I did my work properly when I did the inner wheel well. I left myself a little bit wide in there on purpose, and I sucked it together and just let it fall naturally where it is without putting any pressure on it. One thing you have to be very careful of is you can dent this quarter panel right along in here by sucking this too hard. So I just got some light pressure to pull it in a little bit, measured the outside lip here, from here into the frame, and that's 17 inches right on the money. Now the other side of the car has not been molested, and that's something that I maybe not have said I was intentional about. I know I've said I've had a quarter panel ordered for that for 9 months, but even if I had the quarter panel, I wouldn't be fitting it because I'm using it as a reference. This side was so gone and so shot, I had nothing to reference. So because that side's unmolested, I was able to go measure from the frame rail in there out to here, 17 inches. This thing is perfect. We're not pulling too hard. We don't have any whoops in it like this, because that could happen if you over tighten this clamp this way, sucking that in, you could create a divot. You got to be careful about that. I've looked at it from up above, down this way, and the quarter panel lip lines up exactly with that line on the fender on both sides, pretty much the same. And I've looked at it from this side, and it looks good. So we're really close to being able to install this, but we have a lot of fitting and trimming to do, mostly on the new quarter panel. We've already cut off a bunch. Remember, these are slip over panels. They're not really panels designed to be put on the way that we're doing this. They're designed to slip over and then be attached, and it's just a cluster. They're not well made. They're not. But that's why they were, $175 and not $400 or $500 like some of the other quarter panel replacements are. And of course, we've trimmed it here already. We're way too high here, so we've got to deal with that. This whole top needs to come down some, but I don't know how much yet. So there's a trick I'll show you here in just a second on how I will determine that. And then we can come down here and see that we need to do some cutting away. So what's the trick? Let's show you. If I want to know where I'm at and where I need to trim on the car or the quarter panel to make this fit properly, I need to know exactly where this is. I could go through and scribe all kinds of things, but sometimes you just take a little paint now I know exactly where that line's going to be. And I can start making some measurements to determine, do I need to cut this back? Do I need to cut this? What do I need to do to get this to fit properly? Because we're obviously sucked out down here yet. I know I'm way too high across the top, but I'm going to give me a reference point. Back here. I think that does it. I think that's the only places I need reference points for. Yep, I think so. I already did the inner wheel well when I was setting everything up. So now we let that dry for 10 minutes or so, because this is it's a DuPont Nason etch primer. I used it because it's gray, not because it's etch. It's $20 a can, so I try to use it sparingly, especially for stuff like this, but it was handy, so I used it. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I had not fit the side marker light in, which is covered with overspray and it's got a little chip. But for a driver, it'll clean up nice, and there's a little trick I might be able to do for that little chip to make it look like it's not chipped. But these things are pop in and out of there in 5 minutes, so it's easy enough to change the lens later. I'm going to use what I have to save the money. Anyway, so if it's good, I wanted to make sure that the stamping on the quarter panel was reasonable. Remember, this is a cheap piece of crap replacement panel, and you need to just make sure everything fits properly. So we're good here. I like that. It's going to be a nice fit for the flange. We're too far up here, so we're going to have to come down, shoot that down on the quarter panel, not this. We're pretty decent for the most part across here. I mean, We know we need to cut at least a ½ an inch off, but just getting a feel for it, showing you what we got. This kind of dips down a little bit in here, so we might need to shoot that up a little bit there before we flange. We want to be a uniform distance all the way along. So, which we are, we're not bad. That makes our life a little bit easier. So what I'll do is I'll measure here and somewhere in there, and then we'll know where we got to be in here. This just needs to just a little bit like that. And then down the front, we're definitely going to have to trim more of the front of the replacement panel off. I got to make a decision. Am I going to come in here and cut more of this? That maybe makes more sense. And then of course down here we've got a job of work to do to get that right. So yeah, this is the stuff that takes a while, and why I decided to do an episode just on this to show you how we do this. We interrupt our regularly scheduled program to bring you a special news bulletin. The panel flanger that I use doesn't work. It's not strong enough to squeeze the original sheet metal. So, made a call to a buddy of mine, asked if I could borrow his, and he said by all means, come on over and get it. So, we're making a quick road trip to pick up the tool. Alright, so we've got our slits cut in here now. That allows room for relief for the thing to crimp. I don't think we need to do anything in here. We'll look at that before we mount the quarter. But now we can flange this way and this way. We got some layout work to do here yet. We'll get to that in just a minute. Kind of hard to see because of the colors, but this has got a nice little step there now. We got a little step here, and then of course you can see that one definitely there. So it's coming out nice, but I got to go through, and I want to make this distance here fairly uniform across so that we know. Well, I'm not sure yet. I got a couple ideas here, so let me think on that a minute, and then we'll come back with a plan. So you can see now we got a nice line across there. And just take our cutoff wheel and trim that off. That gets a little bit closer. I'm not expecting it to be perfect all the way across, but close is all we care about. Alright, we can go through now and run a flange across the top better. We're getting there. May have an issue here. I didn't think about that tool fitting between that and the C-pillar, but we'll see. Just like that. Okay, now we need to go through and figure out where we're going to do this one. Got a little cleaning up to do there. I think we're good all the way down from here. We just get a little wide, so I want to go up here and take care of this and get that the same width. Alright, we got that trimmed up. Now I'll just take my rotary grinder and just go down and touch that edge up, get all that garbage off of there before we flange that. And then we'll have some real work down here to do. front edge is flanged. Now we need to come down here and decide what we're doing with this. I'm uncertain, I guess, the best way to handle it. See, one thing that happened was our door gap tightened up a little bit there when I was rat-a-tatting on that. So we need to take that back before we trim the quarter panel front to make sure everything is copacetic and not so pathetic. But otherwise, it's looking good. So yeah, I gotta make a decision where I'm gonna go down here. I think what I'll do, in the interest of interest, is just trim the quarter panel straight down. And that should take care of everything there. So, the other thing I remembered was I haven't gone through and welded this solid yet. So we have to make sure we do that from here to here. We have to make sure we do that before we put this quarter panel on. Otherwise, we're not going to have any strength. A little bit of lather, rinse, and repeat, but we're just going to go through up here. As much as we can. That'll tell us where our bottom edge is. Now the next thing I want to do after that dries is go through and try to shoot a couple of cleco holes through wherever I can from this side that are right in that flange. That's a way to second verify where my cut edge needs to be. So we'll get as many of those done as we can, and we may, I don't know, we can probably get 2 here, and we'll put one out towards this end, and then another one up in there as far as we can, and then maybe there's another one we can get towards the front. And if we can get those, I'll be pretty comfortable with that. So you can see our paint line down the back side now. It looks good. You can see some scribe marks that I put in where I've gone through and calculated, and you can tell that I'm going to be okay because of the hole that I drilled that goes in for the cleco. I had to cut this way. I'm going to have to cut this way here because it gets real fuzzy right in here, which is around that A or C pillar, and then it cleans back up again, so we can kind of calculate that. But I'm going to back calculate that from here down by going over here and measuring down so that I get 2 ideas on where that needs to be. I will also go through and double check my dimensions on this end just to make sure we're close. I'd rather be a little wide than a little short. We can always trim it down, so there's that. Our edge here, you can see, pretty defined, so we should be okay. And then we'll have to just kind of shoot down there and figure that out as we go. But there's not much to trim off here, obviously. If we have a 1/2 inch flange and I'm going a little less than, I'm going like 3/16 of an inch probably, not 3/16, 7/16 of an inch maybe, something like that, because we got to have room for that to settle down in a little bit. All right, we've gone through and made our scribe line all the way down. So we'll get this much cut off, and then we'll make some measurements down here. We've got the top edge cut off. Now we'll find out whether or not we totally flopped it up or not. Get a cleco in here. one. Kind of liking what I see. Get one in right here. Back is down a bunch. I don't know why. We'll fix that. No biggie. It's all part of the fun. Yeah, the fun is down also. A little high here. It's going to be really high in a minute because we need to shoot this up a lot. It's really low. I think I'll go ahead and get a Cleco in up here, and that will help get things straightened out a little bit. Just want to make sure that this line is right here, which it is when I go right there. So we'll go ahead and shoot a Cleco in. I'm going to guess it's right there. The front edge is way too high, but that's good. We hit material. By how much, I don't know. That's good. That lines up nice, swoops right into the door line. Can't tell down there, but pretty sure it's close. Yeah, we're just a little high, but we're low back here. I don't know why. It's down a lot. We may just have to. We should be right there. So let's drill a new hole back here. Gone down and shot a bunch of holes through there, so I can put Clecos about every 8-10 inches. As soon as I can figure out where my Clecos are, we'll put the rest of them in. In the process of looking for the Clecos, I found the snap punch in the wrong drawer in the toolbox. It's been missing for about 2 weeks. There. Not only does it start looking like maybe Frankenstein's monster, but it also gives me a nice line to know where I need to be for cutting things down further. So I haven't checked this one, but yeah, they're all within our flange. So we just need to go back and just trim this down. You can see that the only spot we were actually accurate was right here. But that gives us, that's kind of the way it is. It's what I like to do. I'd much rather sneak into it than cut off too much and then have to put a fill piece behind. Our end is also off just a little skosh. Just a Nova Scotia. I had to raise it up a couple of clicks, but now we're back to our line lining up good again here. And of course, coming down, it's lining up good here again. So it's just the way it is. You kind of snuggle it in, and you have to make tweaks and snuggle it in, and tweak and snuggle it in and tweak. That's the nature of the beast. So I decided to go ahead and just do this by hand because I can just check it as I go along. Liking what that's looking like. Spots to trim there, but we'll come back and do that in a minute. I kind of like to shoot along there. My instincts are telling me, so I better listen. Panel out a little bit. Come along there and take off anywhere between 3/16 to 1/4 of an inch. A little more to cut off there, but it's not bad. I'm using a set of right-hand snips. That way the metal curls up on the right-hand side. I kind of like to just sneak my way into it. Okay, that's looking good. A little high right there. I got a little nervous because of that Cleco hole. Remember, it just has to slip down below the lip so that it falls into that recess. That's all it has to do. Good. I think before we go any further there, I want to go and shoot down the back and get that done. This I'm going to need a set of left hand. I want the metal to curl up on the left. So green is right, red is left, yellow is straight. I don't like the straight ones for very much, not when it comes to making a long cut, and I got to find the red ones. They should have been right there, but they're not. After searching for my other snips for 27.3 minutes, I gave up and just used the cutoff wheel. So now we're good from here all the way up and around. So now we need to go back and put our Clecos back in there. We could even put a Cleco in back there, and we need to pull some of these out and go along there and cut some of that out and get it fit down in. But you can see how good it's looking. It fits down in. Even this hump, I can trim that out of there, but it really isn't going to hurt anything. I will trim it out of there. And just so you can see, it snuggles right in. It will snuggle in even tighter once this is trimmed a little bit more in here. Our corner needs a little, but it's nice and right under that lip, which is just where I like it. And of course, we'll run across that with a grinder and get that edge a little bit trimmed up. But we're ready to go from here and shoot down to here now. So we'll have to pull these Clecos back out except for the end one so that we can pull the panel out away from the car and on down. Okay, it's starting to nestle in there very nicely. And we'll again go over that with a grinder a little bit, but the main thing is that it's now flush like a toilet. So now we got to go down this edge and figure all of that out. Yeehaw! So the next thing we need to do now is go down here and just cut this off and figure out how exactly we're going to join that. In there, as is not abnormal with this cheap crap panel, it's a little bit too big, so we may have to what I generally will do on these is cut some of this, just like go back and cut this lip off in here so this panel can snuggle down. You can see that our corner doesn't line up exactly, and this panel is too long in here as well, so we got a little work to do to get this to snuggle in where it should. It's just something not quite right, so probably by going down in here and doing a couple of relief cuts, I know we can, I've done it before, but this is just not, it's bowed a little bit, you can see that. So actually we may put a relief cut in here and let this snuggle in where it belongs, and then let that fall into place like that, like it should. That's probably what we'll do. We may have to pie slice this back quite a ways, but that's probably the best option, but we're not going to do that right now. The last thing I want to do is there's a piece of the old quarter panel still in here. I need to go pull this back out of the way and shoot that piece off of there so that this will fit in better, and we can kind of peen this in place so it snuggles in better. and then we can pull this all in place like it needs to be over the trunk extension that we built and get it all snuggled in. So that won't take but a couple minutes, and then everything should look pretty darn respectable, I think. This goes back a ways. One of the things I'm using is my spot weld driller here. Normally I just drill right through because I don't care, but I need to try to save the material behind as much as possible. So if I'm gonna be drilling the spot weld holes here in the new panel, I don't want to drill through the old panel as well. I want to leave that metal there so I have something to weld to. I could probably reach around from inside, but it doesn't look like a fun place to get to, so. These things are pretty cheap, so if you buy one, buy a good one. Don't buy this cheap crap that I bought from Amazon. Alright, now we got to do a little trim up here because we did leave a piece of the old quarter panel in. So I need to just come in here with my cutoff wheel and go, and we should be good to go. Got to do a little prettying up in there, but I hammered it around so it fits down in there now. So, you know, there's work, but we're looking good. Our corner is perfect. Our body line is perfect. The fun part is by pulling all that in and cutting that out and getting it done, the rest of the quarter panel just literally fell into place. So I'll show you up at the front what we got. So we're pulled in back there nicely. Everything's fitting down. We got to do that little modification in here to get this to be right. I think actually it's that this is too long. It just needs to be sliced and pulled, and it should be fine. Everything else is lining up good. Our body lines are perfect. We're down into our little recess all the way along as far as I can tell. So let's see up there, we're good. Yep. So what's next? I think we're ready. Got a couple of things to do, as I mentioned. Inside on the wheel well, I need to go through and weld the wheel well lip to the tub itself before we put the quarter panel on. Then we need to go through and drill all of our plug weld holes there, so we'll weld it, we'll spot weld, and then we'll solid weld along the edges as well. Of course, we'll do that in little spots all over so we don't warp anything. We've got plug welds to drill all around underneath to get it to go up into the wheel well, and of course we got a little modification to do down there. But I just checked it with just clique hose in it, and if I push down on it, there's the slightest bit of deflection right there. If I pick up, zero. And of course all of the pressure on this car is going to be up because of the suspension. And I'm quite positive that once we get this all, you know, actually welded in, our deflection is going to be gone. So there'll be no reason to put a roll cage in it for the integrity of the car itself. It's strong. Even pushing down, I see a teeny bit more here than over there. There's a little bit on that side. So I've not paid any attention to other Challengers like this because I've not been in this depth of work on a Challenger, but I've seen it on other Mopars too. They flex a little bit. They're a unibody. So anyway, if we do put a cage in it, it won't be because of anything with structural integrity of the unibody. It will be because of what we're going to do with the car. Hint, hint, hint. Any ideas yet? So yeah, we're getting there. I think that'll do it for this one. I want to sit on this and for a day or two, and I'm out of time today anyway, but I sit on this for a day or two before I get in there and start welding. Our next episode, we'll probably go through and do all of that finish welding and get things ready, and then we'll probably make one episode out of hanging the quarter panel. So we're a few days away at the most, provided life doesn't go stupid. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. I love the comments we're getting. It's fun to see the channel continuing to grow. You're giving me great feedback on what you like to see, and it seems to me at least like you guys enjoy what I do. So there we go. All right, we're on the Face thing. We're on Instant Grandma / My Car Shop. You're on the You thing here with us now. We appreciate it. One more thing.